If your content lives in 5 tools and 7 different docs and spreadsheets, you don't have a content system. You have a Franken Stack. I'm Yao Yao, creator of Floyi. In this walkthrough, I'll show you how Floyi works as a closed loop for content strategy. We're going to use a sample brand called RelaySend, a B2B email marketing platform. You probably work with something familiar, whether it's a SaaS, e-commerce, or an agency client. First, we will set the brand foundation, audience insights, so Floyi knows your brand identity, brand voice, and your buyers. Then based on your brand and buyer personas, we will perform topical research around email deliverability, automation flows, analytics, and see how Floyi turns that into a structured, entity-rich topical map. From there, we will create strategy-aware briefs and on-brand article drafts from real SERPs and competitor analysis, so you can see how Floyi pulls in competitors, questions, entities without extra copy and paste. So by the end, you'll see what it looks like when your brand, topical map, briefs, and drafts all live in one content loop inside Floyi. So when you first land on Floyi, you'll see this intro page. It'll tell you the content strategy journey that we take you through, from brand to audience, topical research to clustering, topical map, topical authority, content briefs, and content creation. Sounds like a lot, but it's not. Then we also have individual tools like briefs and drafts and Errors Analyzer, which analyzes and compares 6 different AI search engines and, of course, Google and Bing SERPs. So let's just go ahead and get started with Brand Foundation. So you can enter your homepage, About Us page, any pages you think are representative of your brand. We have a couple spots for URLs here. You can choose your primary country, your output language, and any internal notes that you want. For this example, I'm going to input a demo brand. Let's make this bigger. RelaySend helps B2B outbound teams keep their emails out of spam folders and protect domain reputation. So I am going to focus on the US, English output, and no notes. So let's go ahead and generate the brand identity here. All right, here we go. So we have our RelaySend, we have our website URL, then we have a clear mission statement of helping outbound teams send cold email at scale. Then we have our vision statement, we have our tagline, target audience, B2B sales teams, growth leaders, and agencies that rely on cold email outreach and consistent inbox placement. Great. Brand voice, core values, market position, your unique selling proposition, your brand personality, your brand story, your site information. This is all things you want in your brand foundation, your brand identity. So anytime you are creating content, this is who you are. You want to use this voice. You can always edit and change whatever you like. For now, we're just going to move on to buyer personas. When we generate buyer personas, we can enter in whatever types of people we want. Let's say B2B, growth marketers. Let's focus on them. Let's create 2 of those personas. So what the agents are doing right now is it's taking all that brand context that we just created, and it's going to generate buyer personas, ICPs, that are perfect for your brand, who you want to go after. And of course, you can always tweak them if they're not the perfect fit. Let's see, Marcus Lee, Director of Revenue Operations, Aisha Patel, Head of Growth Marketing Lead. You can see these are very specific buyer personas. We don't have any marketing Marys here or anything like that. These are detailed personas about specific people. You can see their goals: maintain multi-domain inbox placement greater than 90% while scaling weekly, sending volume 2 to 3 times. We can see their pain points, their values, their fears, where they get their information sources, what their objections are usually with email marketing tools, and their quotes. If our domains start failing, pipeline drives up faster than any lead gen tactic we've tried. So maybe we want, let's say, we also want lead gen experts here. Let's see what we get here. So now what it's doing is it's still passing in that brand context, but now we're also passing in the other buyer personas. So we get unique personas here. Okay. So we have Samir Khan and Sophia Ramos, two new ones, B2B agency, founder and head of outreach. Same thing. We get all their pain points, their values, their fears, their information sources, objections, quotes. Why do we need all this information on your buyer personas? You want to make sure that your content briefs and your content are all answering their pain points, their fears, their objections, and helping you convert them into customers. So from here, we're going to head over to topical research. Now that we are in topical research, what we're going to do is we're going to take another look at the RelaySend site information, target audience, and you can always change it here from here, and it'll save it for the brand across the whole strategy flow. And then you can check out your buyer personas. Here's our couple that we selected, head of growth and head of outreach. Our target audience, B2B sales teams, growth leaders and agencies. Define your core topic here. Let's say email deliverability. Here we can add additional keywords and entities that we want to make sure that the agent covers and uses. So I have a few here. Let's say we want to cover the cold email warm-ups, certain text setups, domain reputation, avoiding spam folders. So down here, we can generate main topics and their subtopics together. And it'll give us a good idea of topics that are really important to your brand and your audience. What do they care about? They care about getting into the inbox, right? So let's see what we have here. Email deliverability for domain reputation, cold email warm-ups, great. You have your SPF, DKIMs, DMARCs, great, looking good. Monitoring alerts, remediation playbooks, choosing a deliverability platform, case studies and outcomes, right? If you want to convert, case studies, exactly what people want. Playbooks, exactly what your customers are going to want. And show them that you are the expert in this. Google, search engines, AI, LLMs, they all love this, right? They want you to show them that you are the topical authority. Okay, now the next step, go further down, generate subtopic 3s and 4s as well for each of these. And then we could also generate more individual keywords. And you can always go in, delete anything you don't want to cover. But for now, we're just going to move on to SERP clustering. So from here, we can see that we have 43 topics that we want to cover. They are going to be used as search queries, and you can pick specific locations. Let's say New York. SERP similarity percentage. I don't know, 20. I usually pick between 30 and 40%. It depends on the niche, depends on the industry. For smaller niches, I usually go with a lower number. Let's see how this turns out. So there were 43 keywords, and then there are 37 unique clusters. We didn't go too deep down the rabbit hole of subtopics and keywords, and so there isn't a lot of crossover. But you can see here deliverability integrations with CRMs and ESPs. So these two overlap, and you can see how much they overlap, 50%. You click the icon here, you can see their SERPs. Number 9 here and number 3 here are the same. So you can see how they rank for different queries. So you can click out, and clustering here is basically telling you what the search intent is. So let's continue on. Let's get to the topical map now. We're going to move into topical hierarchy. So you have your clusters here. Now, we need to organize it in a logical way where you have a clean topical hierarchy, just like in college, right? You have 101 classes, then 201, second year, then your third year classes and fourth year classes, and everything builds on one another, and you get more specific in each advanced class. So here is what we want to do. We're going to start the topical hierarchy. So it's taking all your clusters and organizing them. Okay, so we have them here. Great. Looks pretty good. You can start generating their URL slugs based off of their silos here. So this will take a few minutes since it's creating 37 sets of URLs. There were 37 unique clusters, and so we want to make sure that we get URLs for all of them. Okay, that was quick. Now let's go ahead and we can scroll over to the right. So here are your URL slugs. You can see how everything is structured cleanly, and you can see how it breaks down. Perfect. And then what we're going to do is we can also generate content snapshots and search intent. This is optional because if you're not moving forward to the Topical Authority Planner stage, this is a good place where what it'll do is it'll analyze the SERPs, it'll create all the content titles and search intent, buyer journey stages, but also it'll do an analysis of your SERP competitors, it'll do an analysis of the SERPs and the freshness of the SERP results. Since we are going to move on to Topical Authority, we won't do that here. But we have plenty of videos on all that. Now that we are in the Topical Authority stage, you can see that one of the first things we want to do is add brand aliases to make sure that when all the SERPs and AI overviews are analyzed, they're going to be able to catch any other references of how they say your brand. So like RelaySend as one word, RelaySend as two words, maybe RelaySend, some people write it like that, because you can't always predict how people are going to use your name. All you need to do then is click Save Settings, then that's it. Exit out. And then the next thing you do is calculate your topical authority. What it's going to do is it's going to fetch all your SERPs, fetch all the AI overviews, and then run the calculations for your topical authority score. Now, once you click that button, it's going to take some time, depending on how many topics you have, right? It could take 15 to even 40 minutes if you have hundreds of SERPs that need to be fetched. So in the meantime, you can watch this video, see your authority, and it'll give you a good overview of what topical authority will be able to show you. So we're going to wait until this is done. When these topical authority calculations are all done, Floyi will send you an email. From that email, you'll just come back to Floyi, open it up, and then you'll see your dashboards. All right, and we are back. Topical authority calculations are all done. You can see that our scores are 0 across the board for topical authority, for content authority, market authority, and AI authority. That's because this is not a real brand. So we're not going to have a lot of the calculations and everything here. Let me minimize the sidebar. All right, so you can see share of voice leaderboard. We can go up to 100 here. These are all the top ranking ones that are across our topical map. So you could see Reddit, of course. You could see their top 20 rankings here. All these different threads are ranking number 1, all in the top 20. Okay. Then we can see Learn Microsoft as well. What do they have going on? So a lot of their, basically what seems like their help pages. A lot of answers. Yeah. Same thing. Let's see what Instantly has. Okay. Instantly has a lot of blog articles that are ranking. You can see all the competitors here, right? Who your leaders are. And if you want to keep an eye on certain competitors, you can always add them here. So let's say I want to take a look at Instantly. I want to see how well Reddit's doing, Valley Mail, some of these up here. Okay. So we just add it to the competitors list. And then as your SERPs refresh, whenever you want, you can do it manually by clicking the refresh SERPs, or you can go into settings and you can set your schedule. Okay. You can do it daily, monthly, on a certain day of the month. Everything will be your local time here. Choose the country, the location, and then it'll estimate for you how many credits it's going to cost each month. Okay. So from here, we can see our competitors on topics, visibility, share of voice, organic traffic, AIO mentions, AIO citations. Okay. Reddit's the only one with 2. From here, you could see who's got the most citations. YouTube's got 5 citations. Okay, so for this one topic, they have 7 different URLs being cited. So let's take a look real quick. Out of the 51 citations, YouTube has 7 of them. Same thing with this, a lot of different ones. And you can see they're even targeted towards specific time codes. That's the topical authority score, the broad overview of how you're doing against your competitors. All right, so we have our complete topical map here where of course, we're not ranking, but a lot of the AI overviews, you can see which ones have it. NA means that there were no AI overviews for those queries. So there weren't that many AI overviews for our topical map. But what we want to focus on now is the importance. These are the ones that are really important to your brand and your buyer personas. So you want to try to make sure you hit all these. You have filters for high importance, under covered pillars, not found in the SERPs, not found in AIO, anything you haven't published, anything in the editorial workflow for your briefs and your article drafts. We have a nice little button here you can click to mark as published or unpublished. And then, of course, our competitor matrix. This is huge. This is one where we can see where our competitors, the ones we added in, are ranking. So all the reds are where they're ranking above us. Greens would be ones that we're ranking better than them. So this is going to be all red because this is a demo brand. So you could see who is ranking in which parts of the topical map. For example, if I wanted to collapse all, I wanted to see who's the best in covering a lot of the technical setup here. So you can see that out of those, you can see that Valley Mail and Reddit and Mail Trap has how many here? You got Valley Mail, Mail Trap has 1, Valley Mail has 3, 4, 5, and then Reddit also has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can see Valley Mail has a lot of coverage here. The numbers here mean that they are ranking for 13 topics and then 0 mentions. Reddit is ranking for 18 topics and 2 AIO citations. Great. This is one of the biggest things, the competitor matrix. You're able to see at a glance who has the best coverage across your topical map, your brand, and your buyer personas, right? So you can see here now, who is this brand? You can see here now, Instantly is doing pretty well down here when talking about deliverability with case studies and with remediation playbooks. They have a couple. So this is where to help us choose what briefs we want to create, what content we want to create. And we could see here all the different things that we have going on. We have the link management. We have the subtopics that we want to link to. And because it's already a pillar page, we don't have anything else to link to. Incoming links. These are anchor texts that when we have other articles linking to this one page, we want to make sure that we use relevant anchor texts that are specific for this article. So from the map, it received 1, and then we can generate more with AI. And they do little variations. We don't want to get too far away from the core of this topic because then you need to start worrying about cannibalization with your other articles. And you can see the URL slug here. If we had done a content snapshot, that would also be here. You can see your article drafts and your content briefs, or you could just click here. You have your content briefs, and then you have your articles. You need to create a content brief first, and then you can create your article. You can see our top competitors here that we can use for reference for our content brief. Let's see, we have Reddit, YouTube. I'm going to cover some of these that are more article oriented. Okay, so I've got 5 here. Let's go ahead and click next. Now you could select your personas again. Who are your targeted buyer personas for this specific article? Let's go with our outreach team here and growth marketing. And then any specific keywords that you want to add, any entities you want to add specifically, it already knows your brand, so you don't have to add it back in. And we can select our subtopics here. And then if you had different anchor text, this is where that would come in. Okay, so you can always go back and create more anchor text for them so that you're not over optimizing. We can select our include external keywords that are commonly referenced by competitors. Maybe your competitors are all linking to one specific article or one specific help page. We want to make sure that that's something that we may want to link to. You can add your own external links here, add any brief notes that you want that's for internal use, and then click the generate brief button and it will start generating. This will take a few minutes because it's going to go to all the competitors that you selected. It's going to analyze their content, pick out the keywords, the entities, the topics that they cover, their headers, everything. It's not just looking at their headers and giving you a header outline. These are detailed briefs, section by section, giving you section goals and content points and everything. And so while that's going on, you can see here, I'm going to show you the organizer. This is where you can go ahead and say, okay, I see a couple topics here. They might be worthwhile to combine into one article. For example, this avoid spam folder for cold email and this avoid spam folder. Even though there's SERP overlap, didn't group them together, what we want to do is we want to bring it up to the same level as this avoid spam so that we can combine them into one. All right, so you just click and drag it under here. So because avoid spam was on a different level, we want to make sure that we save this change first. And then from there, once it's saved, you can click these two together and then this combine button will be enabled. You can combine them. You can choose your primary topic. I like this one because it's more explanatory. It's more descriptive. So we'll combine them. Any subtopics, any keywords that were under them, in this case, there were none, but if there were any subtopics or keywords, they would all be combined under this one topic. So we can go ahead and click save here. We could also just continue looking for other ones. Are there any others that we may want to combine? Right? A lot of these are pretty broad because we only went to 2 subtopics because we only did 2 levels of the topical research. Otherwise, you may see a little bit more. Okay, so this is the table view for organizing your topics. You can also go to column view. If you're on a Mac, this should be very familiar. So you can click and drag them to different folders. Let's send that here. Let's send this here. And then, of course, you can always see that this is what you moved. This is what you moved, right? And if you don't want it, you can always undo it. You can redo it, undo it, or just reset it back to the way it was on the last save. And then if you ever want to move a topic to the pillar level, you can always click and drag it to this drop zone area, and then it'll be moved to the pillar level. So I'm going to reset that. Third view is the tree view. Okay, so you can click it and see what's under it. Same thing here. And then, of course, you can always click and drag it. I want to put it back there. You can see the dot there. If I want to move something here, which has multiple levels, okay, so you can see here, it's email deliverability is over here. And so it goes down even further. Anytime you try to go too deep, it will give you a error. It'll say we limit the depth to 4 levels because you don't want search engine crawlers to get too deep. And 4 is usually the max that we would want, 4 levels. If you're happy with it, save it. If you're not, you can always reset it. Different ways of organizing your topical map here. Columns, tables, and the tree view. Now we're just waiting for our content brief to finish. I'll come back when the content brief is done. All right, and the content brief is done. So all we need to do is, you can see the green check marks here for done brief. And then the article draft icon is lit up so that it's ready for content creation. But let's check out our brief first. Great. Lots of key things, keywords, entities that we want to discuss. It starts off with the title, starts off with a meta description. Then we get into the strategic foundation, the why and the who of the article. So we have the complete goal of the article. Then we have the search intent, buyer journey stage, the target audience, and then the target personas that we selected. I'm going to zoom in some. You can see here we have reasons to read. Why does Aisha want to read this? What triggers will help convert her? We have playbooks, copy paste DNS templates. Then we have Sophia, reasons why is she going to read? What's going to help convert her? Then we have the content type, the topical focus, content structure. This is a structure guide. Then we have the different writing styles. And this is something that we do differently. We have a strategic intent recommendation. This is going to be more about the primary job of this content. It's not picking adjectives like professional or witty or casual. This is about, what is the job of this piece of content? Is it to teach, or is it to be more of a technical oriented article that LLMs love? Or is the primary job to convince? So then we have the persona of an advisor, someone who's going to help persuade and direct and be confident. We have, for this article, it's going to be structure, because obviously it's a lot more technical. So you definitely want to sound authoritative for your audience. For LLMs, for crawlers, point of view is second person point of view. This is also informed by your competitors. What is their point of view that they use? Okay, tone of voice. Then we have the format and structure, readability level, suggested word count. We do a deep dive of competitor analysis. We look at the core topics that are similar across the board, key entities that we need to cover. Okay, so it covers a lot right here. And I don't even know what these are, but these are things that we should be adding. So unique angle opportunities, competitor content gaps, opportunities, selected competitors that we referenced, the keywords that we should be using throughout this brief, the internal links. Okay, so you can see here, that was a lot of information. And usually when you're creating a brief, all people are doing is generating an outline based off of the headers that others do. That's not as helpful. They generate the outline of headers, then they hand it off to their writers. And they're like, oh, you can read this about us, about our brand. They could read this about our target audience, right? This is who we want to target. But the writers don't get the specifics. Then they write something that isn't really in the voice of your brand, and they can't fully get across what's important to your users. So our briefs cover all of that. And our briefs are super detailed. They give goals for each section individually. They give a list of content points that the writer should cover, and the specific keywords to use here, the internal link to use here, and how many words should be in this section. What is SPF and how does it work? Again, the section goal, the content points, the keywords, the internal links, word count, suggestion, all the way through this complete article, this complete brief. And frequently asked questions, a lot of these are driven by the people also ask, and the AI overviews as well. A lot of that information. So we're consolidating information from your competitors, the AI overviews, all the different SERP features that are there, and we're generating this detailed content brief that you can hand to any writer, or you can use our AI writer. Let's go ahead and create the article. Let's head over to the content creation workspace here. So here we're going to load the brief up, and you can see the brief. You can also edit it. You can edit the brief in the previous screen as well. You don't have to jump around. It's all right here, editing the brief. You can see the title, meta description, the article URL. You can see the details of the strategic intent. You can always change this if you want as well. You can change it to more of a teacher, the guide. You could do it as the advisor, or you could do it as the architect. The structure, this is always going to be the best one for technical articles and for articles that you really want to, it's optimized for machine reading, LLMs, AI search engines, and of course, traditional search engines. If you have more than one brief version, you'll have them here. And then we have specialist agents. We have agents who will write the introduction and write a key takeaways section. So the intro and key takeaways specialist agent, after the whole article is written, it'll go through, it's going to write an introduction, and then another agent will write the key takeaways of the whole article. And then we also have fact check and research agents. And I find these really helpful. So we have an agent who will fact check your complete article, make notes on certain claims that need to be backed up and sourced. And so then our research agent will go and find the information and make recommendations on how to adjust different lines and make sure that we're not making outrageous claims and everything is sourced, because we want to show that we are the experts. We know what we're talking about. We're not writing this fluffy article and making up all these different statistics and data points. So we have 2 levels of research depth, basic sweep or advanced deep dive. And then all you need to do is click on the create article draft. It's going to take 5 to 15 minutes, depending on the length of the article. And then you'll receive an email notification when it's done, and you can come back here and check it out. So we're going to pause here, and I'll come back when the article is done. Okay, and our article is done. Let's take a quick look at it. So we can see here the introduction. Let's set up SPF, DKIM, and DMARC to maintain predictable inbox placement. I mean, right off the bat, it's telling you what to do. I love it. And that's what LLMs now want. That's what search engine crawlers want. They want the answer right off the bat. Tells you what the guide is going to cover. Tells you why we need to know this. Then it's a lot of the key takeaways. And obviously this is a more technical article, but you can see how entity rich this is. It covers all of these different things. It's formatted very well with bullets and breaking up sections to make it really easy to read, chunking, right? Then it has sources. It added in the sources from the research. So then you have what is SPF and how does it work? Awesome. You have an example right here to show that you know what you're talking about and help others. Okay, another internal link here. What is DKIM? So it has all these articles super rich with entities. I love it. Everything is really easy to read, broken down in a way that anyone can parse it really quickly. Let's see. Then our frequently asked questions. Then our list of sources that were used. The top competitors. Okay, so this is one where we may want to edit the title to include like commas like these. So we can do that. Just click edit over here on the title and meta description, and then just throw in the commas. Copy this, the commas. All right, and we could save it. Now we have the commas up here inside. And then you can see our researcher agents and all the queries that they used to essentially source articles for this. If they had more sources, they would have listed more. Great article. You can always, if you had another draft, you can always open it side by side with this article. Here you can always click show brief you can basically show the article next to the brief. So here's the article on the left, the brief on the right. Collapse these. Okay, read it easier. adjust the window sizes. All right, so you can double check to make sure that the content points were referenced. You can look at the section goals to make sure that it was on point. Okay, so this is an article that really there's not going to be a lot of editing. And that's one of the beauties of having such a detailed content brief. If you're starting from great input, you're going to get great output. If you start from a pretty bare content outline, what you're going to get is what AI writers love to give out. They give you a header, then a paragraph, then a header, and then a paragraph, and then a header, or they give you a header, a paragraph, 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 and it's just one big wall of text essentially with headers. This breaks it up into smaller paragraphs. It breaks it up into chunks. It uses bullet points. It'll use tables. All depends on the content and what you need. And then our editor, you can always add in a table. So you can add in whatever tables you want. Bullets, you can add a task list, lots of options here. And that is the whole Floyi closed loop system from start with your brand all the way to content. And everything is on point with your brand and relevant to your target audience and specific buyer personas. So get on, give it a go, and hope to see you on Floyi.